are so many different types of knitting needles that you can choose to knit with. Like for these socks, I'm using double pointed needles, so they are sharp on both ends, and you used 4. So 1 is your working needle and 3 are holding onto your stitches, and that makes it circular. A lot of people don't enjoy using double points though, because they're a bit fiddly. It's something I learned on, so I really enjoy them for knitting socks or mittens or maybe leggings for a baby, something like that. And I keep them in this handy little case because they are sharp. You could also use circular needles, which are the needles that I use most often. These happen to be made of bamboo, and they are a 16-inch length cable, because the length does make a big difference depending on the size of your project and how many stitches you need to hold on that cable. They definitely come in many different lengths. I want to say these are maybe a 36-inch cable, and these are metal circular needles, not bamboo, which some people think are easier to knit with, or you can knit faster because they slide. Bamboo is really nice to begin with though, because you don't want your stitches sliding off. But with this cable length, you can make a large object. And then this is another length. So yeah, they come in all different lengths. I think the shortest is 9-inch, and then they can go all way, really high. And then you could knit like a blanket or something. Here are single pointed needles, which most people are familiar with. These are made of bamboo, which again, stitches will slide off less often, preventing you from losing your stitches. But you won't be able to knit as fast as you can with the metals. I recommend beginners start with a pair of single point needles, maybe in a US 8. Here's a pair of metal single point needles in a US 10. And metal, again, it has its purpose. They're a little noisy when you knit with them. You hear a lot of ting, 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 ting. Here are not my largest set of needles, but a very, very large set of handmade wooden needles that I used to use to make large photo props. Definitely don't recommend you start with these, but here's the company if you're interested. Big Stitch Knitting. Yeah, these were great for making really big blankets out of roving yarn to be used by photographers for newborn photo sessions. That was how I started this whole fiber journey that I'm on. This little guy is a gauge that you can stick your needle in the holes and find out what size needle you have, because they're not all labeled, and many of the labels wear off after a while, so you don't know what size needle you have. So you just kind of insert it until you find the perfect fit. I love this little knitting nut. You can find these in all different shapes and sizes. And they're just so handy to have. I put one in each of my project bags. These are a US 1. Not the smallest size needle, but the smallest size that I work with. And I knit my socks always on a US 1. That gives me the tightest fabric, which you want in a sock. So yeah, that's about it. Like I said, I recommend that you start with either a circular 16-inch length cable in around a US 8. I mean, it would be fine if you had a US 6, 7, 9, 10, something like that, but an 8 is really nice. You can also knit flat with circular needles. I should have mentioned that. In video number 2, you'll be learning all about yarn weight and how that can make a huge difference in your project. See you there!